Robbie Manfred is trying to change the game yet again. What we're going to do towards the middle, maybe later half of the video is we're going to talk about the 4 or 5 brand new rules that could be making their way into Major League Baseball as soon as this season. Now, I don't think it's going to happen this year, but there are a few rules that I'm looking at right now that I know a lot of you guys watching are going to be furious about, but to be honest with you, they're not horrible. So stick around and we'll break them down in just a few moments. We have Jacob deGrom throwing 102 miles an hour. Joc Pederson is looking like Babe Ruth as a member of the Chicago Cubs. And then also we have a little debate about Ronald Acuna Jr. versus Mike Trout. So it's going to get a little bit spicy, but I promise you it's all fun. It's not very serious. Now, to begin today's video, I want to talk about 2 breaking stories. And the first one is that Nick Markakis is officially retiring. That is why I am rocking out with the Orioles hat today, because let's face it, how many times are we going to talk about the Orioles in 2021? Unfortunately, he was not able to reach 3,000 base hits. I was really hoping that he would get there, because if we're talking about Hall of Fame talent, Nick Markakis is not that guy. He's pretty much Brett Gardner as a right fielder. He's actually played the 8th most games in right field of all time, which is actually crazy to say out loud, but I wanted him to get to 3,000 hits, so all of the Hall of Fame voters would have to decide, hey, he got the requirement of 3K, but he wasn't very special. Should we let him in? That would have been a lot of fun. Another breaking story I do want to talk about is the fact that Byron Buxton, who has been really good over the last year, probably year and a half, he broke his tooth eating steak yesterday. Now, I love me some steak as well. Maybe it was Wagyu beef or Wagyu beef, however you say it, and he was super excited and bit straight into the fork. I mean, I've done that before, and luckily my tooth did not crack, but it's a meme at this point, because Byron Buxton gets injured quite often, and the fact that he's breaking teeth while eating, I hope he gets better soon, because that's not good. Jacob deGrom must have found the Fountain of Youth a few years ago. Like, maybe he went on some excursion, when he went on some Alaskan cruise, he fell into a pit of ice cold water, and maybe he turned into the Avatar. I don't know how this guy is doing it. He had 7 strikeouts in 3 innings yesterday, and he was throwing 102 miles an hour. When he broke into the league as a rookie, he was topping out at 94 to 95 miles an hour. So the fact that he is now throwing 7 miles an hour harder than when he first came in, I don't quite understand how he's been able to do that. But then again, we've seen Randy Johnson and Sandy Koufax, as they've aged, they've gotten better and better. So the same is happening for Jacob deGrom, which is why I say you can't call Forrest Whitley a bust just yet, because deGrom is getting better at 32, 33 years old, and Whitley is 23. So let me stop ranting about Forrest before I get angry. Now, one player that has a ton of time to improve as well, Tyler Glasnow, kind of a similar skill set to Jacob deGrom, throws very hard and has a wicked curveball. The only difference is deGrom does not have command issues. So when I saw Tyler Glasnow's stat line yesterday, 4 innings, 7 strikeouts, and only 1 walk, my mind exploded. If we can get a Tyler Glasnow that is able to throw strikes on the corner and work in that slider cutter, we are witnessing Jacob deGrom 2.0. That's his ceiling. He can be that good. But also, I put out a tweet talking about Tyler Glasnow, and then the entire Mets kingdom said, but did you see Jacob deGrom? What about Jacob deGrom? Do not be these guys. If I'm praising Tyler Glasnow, that doesn't mean that I'm downplaying what Jacob deGrom did. Like, stop it. So a few moments ago, I talked about how there was going to be a Ronald Acuna Jr. versus Mike Trout argument, and it's just about bat flips. So in the comment section down below, here is Ronald Acuna Jr.'s bat flip. It's very majestic. He watches it. He showboats. I think this is a lot of fun. But on the flip side, Mike Trout hit an absolute nuke yesterday. It almost left the entire complex. And Mike Trout is very much old school, where he takes a look, he knows that it's gone, and then he just starts running to first base. So let me know in the comment section down below, are you a fan of the new way of playing where you have Tatis throwing bats and Ronald Acuna Jr. staring at it? Or would you rather be Mike Trout and just drop the bat and run? To be honest with you, I like both. Now, one more home run I do want to show. Vlad Guerrero Jr. hit it, and he thought that it was gone. Then he thought it wasn't gone, and then it left the yard, so he was able to trot around. He was 3 for 3 yesterday. Every single ball that he put into play was 108 plus miles an hour. Yeah, Vlad Guerrero Jr., he's going to be that dude this year. He's lost some weight. He's more athletic. I'm expecting a breakout year for Mr. Vlad. We don't even have to worry about breakout years if we're referring to Corey Seager. He does it again. And Oppo Taco, you know a guy is locked in when he's hitting home runs to the opposite way. The Dodgers, I keep saying this, they're loaded. And when you have Tony Gonzalez, who isn't even in this picture, this graphic is showing the guys that are competing for a starting spot. Gonzalez went 3 innings with 5 strikeouts and 0 earned runs after having a sub-3 ERA in 2020. Why is it to say that he's not going to be the 5 starter? But that's how good they are. That's how deep they are. Tony Gonzalez, Dustin May, and Julio Urias might not make the rotation. What? Garrett Cole and Aaron Nola faced off yesterday, and they both looked fantastic. I don't really care about the stats. All I care about is the mechanics and them throwing strikes. You can see that Garrett Cole is looking nasty as ever, and then Aaron Nola, who is up there in the conversation as most underrated pitcher in all of baseball, he is absolutely gross. Even in slow motion, all of that movement, he does not have to throw 99 to be dominant. He's kind of like the second coming of Greg Maddux, but not as good, obviously. So, we just hyped up the Dodgers a few moments ago, but why did they not go out and re-sign Joc Pederson? Now again, take this with a grain of salt. It is spring training. Joc Pederson is leading everyone in base hits, home runs, and RBIs. I know their farm system is pretty deep talking about the Dodgers, but I felt like Joc Pederson was a very big piece to that puzzle. But unfortunately, he is now in the Chicago Cubs, so he's going to be raking down in Chicago, and I love what's happening. He is dialed in. I'm hoping that he goes off for 40 home runs this year. Now, one more thing about the Chicago Cubs. It looks like Javier Baez has officially changed his batting stance, and I was looking at it, and it's very subtle. But when I went to Bryce Harper and I analyzed his swing, what I did is I screenshotted it and then I flipped it. Javier Baez, who is known for not being able to take balls and he strikes out a lot, he pretty much said, all right, Bryce Harper's really good at taking walks. Let me just do what he does, because if you flip Bryce Harper's swing, it is the exact same stance that Javier Baez had just a day ago. So it looks like 2021, Javier Baez's main goal is take walks and have a higher on-base percentage, because that's really what's been his biggest flaw. He has insane pop, decent speed, his defense is platinum, but the only thing is he strikes out a lot, so why not take a page out of Bryce Harper's book, who takes a ton of walks? Let's talk about the rule changes that are going to be implemented into the minor league seasons, but might not be making their way into MLB until maybe 2022. I'm curious as to how this is going to work out, but first and foremost, MLB is trying to limit the shift. So what you have to do is, if you're an infielder, your cleats have to be on the infield only. You can no longer have your second baseman or your third baseman shift on over to right field and pretty much be playing shallow right field. That is no longer a possibility in the minors. So that is the first thing. A lot of people hate the shift, and a lot of people say just get better. I'm under the impression that if you're a Aroldis Chapman throwing 102 miles an hour to Joey Gallo, it's kind of hard to just think, I'm going to go the other way, because 9 times out of 10, you're going to break your bat. And it's, you know, when I was growing up, I didn't face a lot of lefties, so I just pulled baseballs, and maybe that is an instance of get better. Let me know. The bases will be increasing from 15 by 15 to 18 by 18. It's also going to be made of a different material, so it's going to try and limit the amount of injuries that are caused by base to cleat contact. And also, considering the base is going to be bigger, stolen base rate is going to be at an all-time high, which is great. Stolen bases are not as relevant as they used to be. I mean, Mike Trout, who has elite sprint speed, stole 1 base last year, which, I mean, that right there alone is very worrisome. So they're trying to make it more safe and more efficient to steal bases. I really like that one. I do not mind it at all. Now, one thing I don't really like is the fact that you have to step off in order to pick off, and you only get 2 pickoffs per plate appearances. I mean, if you're a left-handed pitcher, this kind of negates the skill of a base runner of having to read the pitcher, so lefties are going to get nerfed a little bit. There's also going to be a 15-second pitch clock, and the last but not least, in the lowest form of minor league baseball, robot umpires are becoming a thing. An automatic strike-to-ball system will be implemented, so Angel Hernandez, he's got to be thinking to himself right now, yo, I might be out of a job soon. So let me know in the comment section down below, what do you make of MLB trying to limit the shift? Every single infielder has to have their cleats on the infield. Now, they're not trying to limit if you can have 4 infielders on the right side. That's not a thing just yet. I'm hoping that actually happens, because the shift, in my opinion, it's bad for the viewing audience. I don't like it. Now, I do understand the other side where you have to get better and maybe you push bunt to the left side, or I don't know. I don't know. As a lefty, I hated it. they're increasing the size of the base you have to step off in order to pick off. The 15-second pitch clock, which to me sounds a little bit quick, and then the robot umpires are coming. Let me know your thoughts. We're gonna go ahead and end today's video with the clips that I couldn't talk about. A web gem, we have a few home runs. It's a lot of fun. Thank you all so much for watching. Stay safe out there. I'll catch you all tomorrow for yet another recap. Enjoy the clips.
They were in the same limo for prom. And they end up pitching in a big league rotation together. Look at Alford. What can't he do?
See the dentist. These are real life problems that everyone can relate to.
Kirilloff high and deep to center field. This one on the track at the wall. That's gone, a home run.
Leg, but not real good one there.
Out to left field. McCutcheon on the run, and it is over his head and over the wall.